Ladies and gentlemen, the FBI, or I should say Michael Horowitz, referred to William Barr, an FBI lawyer for criminal prosecution. This is Ted Cruz in an exchange with Michael Horowitz. Ted Cruz gets to the bottom of the matter. He does a great job, and Michael Horowitz he's very honest. And there's actually, I don't blame Horowitz at all, actually. He's doing his job. Now, he categorized the overall investigation as no institutional bias, but with a litany, 17 examples of falsified information or omissions, inaccuracies within 3 FISA applications against Carter Page. That's just one element of the overwhelming bias of people who were in charge of investigating President Trump, which obviously points to institutional bias. But what he says, there was no documentary and testimonial bias. You're talking about lawyers writing essentially legal briefs, and they hide behind semantic, well, in this case, they're hiding behind semantic murkiness. We know that Trump was set up. This proves Trump was basically, his campaign was essentially set up by intelligence agencies that obviously wanted Clinton to win and wanted to undermine Trump's administration for as long as they could, under the ridiculous notion that he worked with Russia. That is absurd. Mueller found no evidence of that. He didn't. Now then they hide within semantic murkiness again. They say, well, he invited Russia. There's no invitation of Russia. The intelligence reports are only confident when they say that the intelligence agencies confirmed Russia's interference. They're saying they confirmed their own confidence level. They're not certain of anything. That's not. John Brennan states that he does intelligence, not evidence. But here, check this out. This is a great exchange. This is Fox 10 Phoenix. Kevin Clinesmith is the FBI lawyer that falsified one of the applications. And he has text messages that are incriminating. Not just anti-Trump, text messages saying, hey, my name is all over these documents. So you can actually, here, Clinesmith. So if you look at, plus my name is all over the legal documents, so this is a heavy.com. Kevin Clinesmith, read former FBI lawyer's texts on Trump. He knows what's going on. He knows that Trump doesn't forget. And it's just hard not to feel the FBI caused some of this. This is a text message from Clinesmith. It was razor thin in some states, plus my fill-in-the-blank name is all over the legal documents investigating his staff. So who knows if that breaks to him, what he's going to do. It didn't just break to Trump. It broke to the IG. And he states right here that Clinesmith has been referred for criminal prosecution. Oh, Lord, why that? Oh, okay, one of my amazing subscribers told me how to get rid of that. Anyway, so check this out.
Stating that accurately?
That's correct. That is what occurred.
Now, you have worked in law enforcement a long time. Is the pattern of a Department of Justice employee altering evidence and submitting fraudulent evidence that ultimately gets submitted to a court, is that commonplace? Is that typical?
I have not seen an alteration of an email end up impacting a court document like this.
So you notice how he doesn't just say, he doesn't just get to the point. He doesn't just say, yeah, it was really bad. That's what he says, but he's like, I've never seen anything this grandiose. So in all his years, Horowitz has never seen anything like what Clinesmith is alleged to have done. Let's continue. And so this is, by the way, the FBI lawyer working under, I believe, Peter Strzok. This is public record, people. The Washington Post, that was a heavy.com article. The Washington Post talks about Mr. Clinesmith. It's all out in the open. Now this guy, Clinesmith, is not even as powerful or influential as Strzok. And we know that Strzok said, "We'll stop Trump." So the article is, in opening an investigation of Trump campaign, the FBI felt it had reached a tipping point, IG finds. Of course, the Washington Post always, whitewashes everything. But an FBI attorney who has been identified as Kevin Clinesmith reached out to a liaison at John Brennan's agency for more information. He told investigators for the Inspector General and colleagues that he believed he was informed that Page had been some kind of source for the agency, an intelligence source, or perhaps had been at meetings at which an agency source was also present, and had been included in John Brennan's report as a result. In fact, the liaison said those assessments were inaccurate, and information she provided indicated Page had been a direct source of information. Okay? But the attorney did not convey that information to colleagues who were concerned about the issue. Instead, Clinesmith forwarded a June 15th email from the liaison to another FBI agent that described Carter Page's relationship with John Brennan's organization. But investigators concluded that he altered the email to add a phrase indicating that Page was not a source. Clinesmith at first denied altering the email in interviews, that if he was under oath, he committed perjury. Clinesmith at first denied altering the emails in interviews with investigators, but later acknowledged he had done so. So if it's true that he denied altering the emails, he committed perjury if he was under oath. Horowitz has referred the issue to prosecutors to investigate whether the alteration amounted to a crime. How could it not? How could lying to a court of law working under other FBI agents that literally state will stop Trump, how could that not amount to a crime? And I'm not just talking about Clinesmith. I'm talking about all of these people. This is so obvious. This is so obvious. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how rampant the corruption is. Now, I get it. People are going to say, well, nothing will ever happen. Well, Nixon won a landslide victory and then was forced out a year later. So, don't think that people sitting pretty are always going to sit pretty. But here is where Cruz gets to the bottom of the issue. Check it out.
In any ordinary circumstance, if a private citizen did this, fabricated evidence, and by the way, what he inserted was not just slightly wrong, it was 180 degrees opposite what the evidence said. So the intelligence agency said this guy is a source, and he inserted this guy is not a source. If a private citizen did that in any law enforcement investigation, if they fabricated...
Carter Page was a source for the intelligence community, a source, meaning he worked with the United States government, meaning he helped the United States government. And what did the government do? Completely railroad him. Why be a source if at the end of the day you're going to be a pawn, or they're going to try to make you into a pawn or a sacrificial lamb to start an investigation? And do you think they're reimbursing the tens of thousands, almost certainly of dollars, possibly hundreds of thousands, that Carter Page paid in legal fees? And that Michael Flynn paid? And that others paid? There was one gentleman caught up in all of this who was living, I believe, with his, helping his father who had health problems, and he had to move away from his family, and the wonderful liberals, they laugh with glee. Oh, they're so happy, but they're not going to be so happy when Trump wins again. And they lose with Clinton. By the way, check out my segment prior to this one. Joe Biden has pledged, he's going to pledge or promise to serve only one term. Are you kidding me? Who votes for a president or a candidate that doesn't even have the stamina to go eight years? But anyway, that's a whole other story. But listen to this. This is the best part.
Evidence and reversed what it said. In your experience, would that private citizen be prosecuted for fabricating evidence, be prosecuted for obstruction of justice, be prosecuted for perjury?
So fabricating evidence, obstruction of justice, and perjury. This is 7 minutes and 24 seconds into a Fox 10 Phoenix segment on YouTube. December 11, 2019. Ted Cruz lights up FBI over wiretapping Donald Trump. So this is Fox 10 Phoenix.
They certainly would be considered for that if there was an intentional effort to deceive the court. On this one, I'm going to defer because, as we noted here in the sentence you indicated, we referred that over to the Attorney General and the FBI Director for handling.
He referred it over to the Attorney General and the FBI Director for handling. Well, the Attorney General, the FBI Director, Ray, is not going to do anything. So that's obvious. The guy, it's interesting how the directors of the FBI have greater allegiance to the FBI than they do to the United States of America. That's very interesting. Or in Comey's case, greater allegiance to the Democratic Party. But William Barr has already publicly opposed and disputed the IG report, saying that it was not predicated upon legal foundation. And John Durham states that we have evidence that is contrary to what Horowitz stated regarding documentary and testimonial. So Durham has documentary and testimonial evidence. So those ridiculous headlines that you heard, John Durham, William Barr's hand-picked prosecutor, couldn't find anything. No, he has the evidence. That's why he openly refuted Horowitz. And notice, by the way, that these government officials stick together. Notice it's pretty interesting when William Barr and John Durham were like, nah, wrong. So check it out. He already stated, check it out again. He already stated Clinesmith has been referred for criminal prosecution.
Defer, because as we noted here, they certainly would be considered for that.
Is a source, and he inserted, this guy is not a source. If a private citizen did that in any law enforcement investigation, if they fabricated evidence and reversed what it said, in your experience, would that private citizen be prosecuted for fabricating evidence, be prosecuted for obstruction of justice, be prosecuted for perjury?
They certainly would be considered for that if there was an intentional effort to deceive the court. On this one, I'm going to defer because, as we noted here in the sentence you indicated, we referred that over to the Attorney General and the FBI Director for handling.
Third major omission.
Okay. So, the Attorney General, like I said, John Durham has a criminal probe. This is obvious criminal behavior. There's not 17 omissions, including, first of all, an omission with the intent to deceive, which is what this FBI lawyer almost certainly did. And his text messages are like, oh yeah, my name's all over the documents. Yeah, your name's all over the documents. So you probably shouldn't have omitted one of the key, most important issues, in addition to the 17 falsifications. Carter Page should never have been surveilled, ever. There was never a reason to believe that Trump worked with Russia. If Russia hacked the DNC, they would have hacked Clinton's servers that contain top secret and special access program intelligence. The corruption here is not sustainable. I said this in 2015, endlessly. Now you have Dan Bongino suing the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast wrote an unethical hit piece on me that was also riddled with inaccuracies. So, but see, the thing is, that type of, the insidious nature of media and the intelligence community and the Democratic Party cheating Bernie Sanders, going after anyone. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. I mean, what I experienced was nothing, according to the Washington Post. What I experienced was nothing. Carter Page actually had a relationship. He was, I believe, going to get, he had a fiance or something. The whole thing fell apart. They tried to ruin the man's life, but they also went after Michael Flynn and Papadopoulos. And they tried to ruin the lives of people. They tried to use the vice of the U.S. government and just squeeze and try to just turn, and it didn't work because there was nothing. You can't get water from a stone. There was nothing to get. There was never any collusion with Russia. The thing is the most absurd notion. Really smart people are believing this because they truly believe the intelligence community is accurate. The intelligence community from the Bay of Pigs, Gulf of Tonkin until today hasn't gotten anything right. Just ask Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. Just ask all the intelligence reports that fostered President Obama's failed NATO intervention in Libya. What have they gotten right? They haven't gotten anything right. They couldn't even predict the fall of the Berlin Wall. They don't. Look, you need an intelligence community, but not for domestic politics. And you can't simply always fall back, well, it was an intelligence failure. Yeah, and people's lives are at stake, especially during Bush's foreign policy that negatively impacted the lives of Americans and people around the world. And when President Obama continued that foreign policy based on faulty intelligence, and then set up and framed Trump based on faulty intelligence, we have a wonderful intelligence community that not only is almost always wrong, but they're now setting up people. Intelligence community is supposed to be just for serious issues abroad, primarily. And if those issues abroad come within the United States, that's another story. But not, the DNC was hacked, and Russia wanted Bernie Sanders to win and Trump to win. Who believes this nonsense anyway? You don't want to be the low-ranking FBI official being sent for prosecution. You do not want to be any of these people, especially Clinesmith, because he's not McCabe, he's not Comey. Give me your thoughts below. And they're going to railroad him also. When Joe Pistone was interviewed about whether or not he would have to commit, a serious crime when he was Donnie Brasco, okay, he infiltrated the mob, he stated that, yeah, he would actually have to do that, but that the FBI would railroad him. That he knew that the FBI would cut ties with him and say, well, we didn't tell Joe Pistone to do that, so we're going to prosecute him also. But he was so deep undercover, he had to, so Joe Pistone, even being the undercover agent Donnie Brasco, one of the most celebrated, okay, even he knew that the FBI would turn on him. What do you think they're going to do to the lowest ranking person in this whole charade, this whole farce of this debacle, this travesty? Give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right this second. Thank you.